So we have gone back to 2012. Raw last night was only 2 hours long. It was the greatest moment of my life. I don't actually mind it when Raw is 3 hours, but I just prefer it 2 hours. I don't want to get into it because it's not the topic of today's video. But 2 hours, with all things in life, is better than 3 hours. I don't want to do anything for 3 hours other than maybe eat pizza. But no, the big, I suppose, takeaway from Raw, aside from the amazing Gunther Sami Zayn match for the World Championship that you should watch, those two have such good chemistry, they should be science teachers, is of course the fact that Cody Rhodes returned to Monday nights. And he didn't want to talk about Kevin Owens, even though Kevin Owens had screwed him over at Bad Blood, because he wanted to stare Gunther in the face, because of course they're taking each other on at Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel Championship, which is a really big square. Now, once again, I always like to point this out. It is professional wrestling, and it doesn't matter. So if you are super duper up for this, I support you in that endeavor. But you're also getting 52 weeks of content a year, and you can't like everything. So I know what people will say. They say it every time. Simon, you're meant to be a positive person. Being a positive person does not mean being constructively critical. You're allowed to say you don't like things. You just do it in a happy hoity-toity way, and you annoy half the internet. But that's why I wanted to record this video today, to let you know I shall always be transparent with you, which I can't believe you don't know. I've been doing this for 8 years. I do not like the Saudi Arabia Championship. And the reason I don't like it is WWE's own fault, because for the past 4 years, let's go back to 2020 when the bloodline kind of kicked into gear properly, we have gone back to long-form storytelling, and it has been the best. Again, Jimmy Uso turns up on Bad Blood. He reunites with Roman Reigns, and he's going, I caught the play, man. And Roman Reigns, I can't believe you caught the play. And they hug, and everyone goes crazy over a cuddle. And this is no disrespect to Jimmy Uso. Both Usos have always been amazing, but they were treated like such a, I don't say nothing tag team. They were always an amazing tag team. Their feud with the New Day was awesome. But if I had told you that was going to happen in 2020, you wouldn't have believed me. But we invested the time, and we invested the energy, and we invested the effort, and lo and behold, we got the results and the rewards on the other side. And now we are about to get Cody Rhodes versus Gunther, one of the matches that I fantasy booked when Cody finally won that championship, and when Gunther was quite clearly making his way to the top of the card. And the first match, or technically the second if you want to include the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, which I absolutely would put in the damn feud, which annoys me as well, is that they're going to a fight at Saudi Arabia over a championship that we just made up for absolutely no reason. So it's jarring, right? It's absolutely jarring in terms of the product that WWE has been presenting recently. And just to be that guy, but sometimes you do need to be that guy, it feels like WWE 2019, maybe 2018. 2019 is abysmal. I had to watch it the other day. You got the dog food angle, you got that Hell in a Cell with Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt. It's just it's not a good time, mostly because I think Vince McMahon was deliberately trying to troll his audience, and it just feels like a wasted opportunity. This is why I don't mind Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan. I don't think we're ever going to get that feud. So in that sense, like, okay, well, that could be quite fun. I still don't like how we're getting there. I think if you are going to do champion versus champion, you build it up as a champion versus champion match, and you do it at WrestleMania, and you merge those two titles together. But also, it's like 3.5 weeks until Crown Jewel, so it's just going to be so fast, and I don't know, it just irks me, and I get nothing from it, and I'm not excited about it. Whereas if all of a sudden you had told me they're just going to fight for other reasons, and we had tied it into a proper story beat, I absolutely would be on board, because Cody Rhodes versus Gunther is like the greatest WWF match from 1988. Cody can sell his ass off, Gunther can be the big dominant heel, and then you can kind of choose whatever finish you want, and yes, I probably agree with you, Goldberg is probably going to be in Saudi Arabia. He shall still spear Gunther, I should say, as revenge, and Cody can get the win. But even that, you can argue, is a bit lame, which has become my catchphrase for all of this, because Cody is going to win thanks to interference by Goldberg. Now, again, all these things can be true. Multiple statements can be true. Goldberg versus Gunther, I will take that match. I'm going to be dead one day. I want you to give me all the chaotic fight-ups. You absolutely can. But it also presents more problems, and it's a corner that we are backing ourselves into when we didn't need to do it. And the other sort of asterisk point to all of this is I thought the Saudi Arabia shows, apart from all the controversy that does come along with them, in terms of the content, we're heading in a better direction. That actually started to feel like proper canon pay-per-views, PLEs, whereas now we've gone back to the gimmicks, like the greatest Royal Rumble, and what was the other match that we did? I mean, Undertaker versus Goldberg. Everyone said, I still don't get that. I mean, you may disagree. It's a dream match. No, it wasn't. When WCW versus WWE was heading off, nobody would have booked that on their first ever WCW versus WWE card. So it just is the first time, really. I know other people have said stuff about Cody, but I love the stuff with AJ Styles. It was a bit different. I'm so in on this Kevin Owens stuff. And again, that's the feud we're meant to be doing, hence why we pulled the storyline reason. Whereas all the rest, it's been shoehorned in. And I'm so done with stuff being shoehorned in, especially when I've got the alternative. And I know that everybody else does this as well, but we're just talking about what I saw on Raw last night. And my overriding feeling was just, ugh. And especially because it ended with Gunther looking at Cody and Cody looking at Gunther after he had defeated Sami Zayn in what was a great match. It's just not for me. It's just not. But as always, if it's for you, I think that's the greatest thing ever. I would just much rather WWE stuck to what has taken them back to the super fire levels that they're at now, selling out all over the place, making a bunch of money in merchandise and all of these things. And even the ratings are still pretty good. There's now a new clientele of people that are acting like SmackDown hasn't moved from network television back to cable, meaning the ratings are always going to go down, but no, we can pretend. On a side note too, I'm done. I don't want to talk about ratings anymore either. It's so boring. I don't care. I don't care if one person watches SmackDown. In fact, that'd be awesome, because it would be for me, and that's the only time the WWE should tailor-make a program for someone. If you know only one individual is watching, you tailor-make it for them, but there's not, and that's why the Gunther versus Cody Rhodes thing is totally fine, because I'm sure some people will be out there, and it will be a great match. They are two pros, and Gunther right now is just the absolute man. The promo cut on Goldberg was fantastic. Like, I remember some people used to be like, oh, we'd never be able to fit into the WWE promo style. That was a pile of gibberish. Cody Rhodes is the man, ma'am. The only struggle I have with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens breaking up is that I both want them to win. I love Cody Rhodes, and I actually love Kevin Owens. I was thinking the other day, Kevin Owens may be in my top 3 wrestlers of all time. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I've already set the comments off, so what I'm going to do is what all YouTubers do. I'm going to be a coward and change the subject. And just a super quick reminder, my friends, to go to GorillaMind.com/Simon and use the code Simon to get 10% off. There is a link in the description below, but also if you keep an eye on the website, they are often doing 30% off, especially when it comes to their pre-workout, Gorilla Mode. There's a brand new version of this now. It is genuinely the best pre-workout I've ever had in my entire life, which is why I got on board with Gorilla Mind, because I was shouting about it so much. They sent me a message that said, Simon, you may as well be part of the team. It really is the best line of gym supplements I've ever used, and I've been training for over 20 years now, which is quite sad. And they even do stuff like multivitamins now, and it also ships worldwide. So again, it's always 10% off using my code Simon, and if you do keep an eye on GorillaMind.com, you never know, my friends, you may be getting up to 30% off, and they got an array of stuff as well, so check them out today. Supports me, supports the channel. I appreciate you, and I appreciate it. Now back to the video. Otherwise, I thought Raw was fine. You can definitely tell that WWE is struggling to fit in a 3-hour format to 2 hours, but I mean, it's twofold, right? One, they haven't done it for so long, so it's going to take a while. I know they've been doing it on SmackDown, but the Raw roster, because it was 180 minutes, is deliberately larger. But they also know that come January, of course, they're going to go back to 3 hours. I think I mentioned this on Ups and Downs. Again, make sure you check out my Raw review over on What Culture Wrestling. But like, if you want adverts and you want sponsors, that's a huge reason Netflix has signed them up. So why try and squidge in more adverts for 2 hours? Well, you could go 7 hours on Netflix if you want, but please don't do that. I'll cry into my cornflakes. And I don't think it's just going to be 3 hours of wrestling. You're going to get sponsors, you're going to get adverts, and I get it. It's totally bogus, because why are we signing up for these streaming services at the higher tiers to avoid this stuff? And we're getting it anyway. Well, it's called capitalism, but once again, different video for a different day. But I think we'll find our feet, and the only negative that I had was the women's match, because it did feel like something again from sort of 8 years ago, where we just take a bunch of women on either side and we throw them into a random tag team match. Now, actually, this is something that we were struggling with 3 hours. People get so mad at me at this. I'm just trying to be honest with you, like I say. But the Pure Fusion Collective and the Unholy Union, then it was Natalya and Zelina Vega and Lyra Valkyria and Kaden Carter and Katana Chant. I don't even know what they're beefing about. Like, they have been beefing for a while, but then we keep throwing individuals in there, and even if they did have a story, nothing came out of this. Lyra got the win when Sonya Deville was like, oh, I'm looking at the floor, with a big old leg drop, and it's kind of what we did last week. It's kind of what we did the week before that. We don't, apart from we want to take over the division, there's no real reason to invest into this. And because they are so talented, again, the match was fun enough. I had no problem with it, although they didn't get much time. I would try and splinter them off into mini feuds. Like, why can't we have a Zoe Stark versus Natalya feud? I mean, we've kind of done that. But I would much rather that, and we give it the beats, and we give it the story, and then when they've run their course, we bring in Sonya Deville and Lyra Valkyria, let them do something, as opposed to this weird schmoz. I just don't get anything out of it. And once again, you use the word, it feels jarring, because it doesn't tie up to what else that WWE has been doing. And I didn't mind Jey Uso and Xavier Woods going shorter, because again, that's just par for the course, and the goal there was everything we did after the fact. So Kofi Kingston shaking Jey Uso's hand, Xavier Woods getting mad because he lost, then Bron Breakker appearing and spearing everyone, which I'm sure Woods can blame on Kofi Kingston too. And I don't want to say I can't wait for this New Day breakup, because it's going to break me emotionally. But the fact that we're investing so much time into it, and we still don't know what direction it's going to go, maybe Big E comes back to save the day, gets me super duper excited. And I also saw some people going, oh, Bron Breakker, what's going on? He was a face, he was a heel. I didn't really think he'd gone super face last week. I just think he does whatever the flub that he wants to do. And he showed his respect, and now he's going back after the thing that he wants. I don't think you can call him a super duper heel, because again, otherwise last week he would have done this. But that match worked. Most of all, we just set up a bunch of stuff, like we're doing the R-Truth and the Miz feud next week. No problem with that at all. I just like those guys. And I don't think either of them get the respect, especially because you've got Karrion Kross in the background going, ha 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 ha, it's all because of me. And once again, that main event was brilliant. And we made sure we went shorter with the other matches in order to give them the most time, which is what we should have done. And as always, Sami Zayn has you believing he's actually going to win the World Championship on a random episode of Raw. And that is why he's a true genius. And it's Gunther too, because he knows how to sell, like, oh, what am I going to do? It's almost a shame we couldn't have done this on a bigger stage, because there were a lot of commercials, and I can't remember if I said this on Ups and Downs. I actually think I forgot, which makes me an idiot. I'm never going to start getting into the commercial argument. It's just the nature of TV. And also, that really is a never-ending pathway. Every week you have to give it a down because there's a bunch of commercials. I mean, that, once again, I've been used to that for the last 20 years. That's not the kind of stuff I want to get bogged down to. Doesn't mean they're not annoying. They are frustrating. And again, maybe here they did feel a little bit more smoshed together. But it is what it is. That's just television, man. And it sucks, but it's also really, really important. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money. Otherwise, it was mostly promos that we should get into as well. Love the CM Punk promo, because again, doesn't matter how much you kill each other in Hell in a Cell. CM Punk just comes out skipping, going, I'm having a great time playing with my daisies. It doesn't mean anything, but he's actually gone away for a while. Probably not going to see him for a month or so. And then Seth Rollins coming out did the same thing. Bronson Reed, I want you. And within all that as well, we set up Bronson and Seth. We've also teased that we're going to go back to Seth and CM Punk, probably at WrestleMania. And also, Jey Uso interrupted Seth Rollins, so maybe we're going to do something there as well. And I would love to see Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins. Give me these brand new matches. I'm never going to get mad by it. We also had a very 90s themed video with Rhea Ripley, which I loved. It flashed up with her logo, like it was the 92 Raw Rumble. And then she went, oh yeah, surprise, surprise, Raquel Rodriguez. Well, I'll just beat you too. And even though Raquel, Liv Morgan, and Dominic Mysterio with his moustache did turn up to Raw, they then left early. And there was actually a tease here too. Actually, there were two teases. One during the Miz things. We've got the Wyatt glitch stuff. So, of course, they'll go after him for screwing over his family, which is R-Truth. And then here, Liv Morgan for the first time was a bit standoffish with Dom. So maybe she has been using him, and now she's got a proper heater in Raquel. She's going to kick him to the curb, which is what should happen. He shouldn't turn face, no way. But the fact he is such a terrible person means everybody should give him his comeuppance. And maybe in sort of 5-6 years he can go good guy. I think he'd be a world champion one day and it'd be more deserved. But everyone has to pour crap on Dominic because, again, he is the worst person. So these are all setting things up for the future, and I'm sure that Rhea Ripley, I think she does actually. I think they recorded next week's episode of Raw. No spoilers, but I think Rhea Ripley has a much bigger part in this. And that was another criticism. People were like, oh, there wasn't enough time for Damian Priest and Finn Balor. You are right. But I actually prefer it, as long as the commentators have to mention it. I'm not talking about disappearing. I cannot stand it when wrestlers vanish. So actually, I don't recall Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett mentioning those two, so that you would have a good point. But I don't mind them not being on the show. Maybe they showed a video or something. I can't remember. But it's not a problem for them to have their own time next week or in a couple of weeks, and we do the follow-up and then we move them into new feuds or whatever we are going to do, because sometimes you can get overexposed, especially when you have 3-hour Raws and somebody keeps popping up throughout it. The Judgment Day, even though they balanced that very well, they did do that a lot, so sometimes you do need to draw it back a little bit. But yeah, when we talk about Dynamite this week, something has happened that absolutely has irked me, and it all comes down to people vanishing. Once again, it's really shallow stuff here. We're not talking about life and death, but that's a fair one. You could call me out for that and say, also, that doesn't make any sense. Wrestlers that vanish is one of my worst things ever, because it wouldn't happen in any other kind of sitcom or any other kind of drama. Like, if that's your favorite character and they're not on the show and nobody references them, you start thinking, am I stupid? Did I meet them up? Are they just fiction based in my brain? Incredibly, there's not really much else to say about Raw, because 2-hour shows do absolutely zoom by, but I certainly appreciated it, and I thought it was a good follow-up to Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood, I should say. Especially the CM Punk Drew McIntyre stuff. Like, we didn't see Drew at all. I think that was absolutely crucial because he lost and he was totally broken. We saw his damn Predator head after he got those staples or glue or whatever the hell it was. And CM Punk being like, yeah, I won, but I didn't win. Look at me. I'm a totally broken man, and finally I get to go home to my wife. It means now we can shelve the Hell in a Cell for a while, but next time we go back to it, we should treat it like a big deal. I do want to apologize to Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, which is a strange thing to say. When I was talking about, well, comparing Hell in a Cells, I totally forgot about their one when Cody had the torn pec. That is a work of art. That is a masterpiece. How I forgot it, I don't know. My brains are stupid. But I went all the way back to Triple H versus Batista, which is another good Hell in a Cell match. But I don't like the comparison games. I think comparison is the thief of joy. I just think it's amazing that we've got the Cody and Seth one and we've got the Punk and Drew one. But the Cody one deserves a shout out. And you go, oh yeah, but it's only because he had a torn pec. We've done that. We're not doing it again. This Batman game is only good because Batman's in it. Well, he's in it, and they used it to optimum effect. So it's going to be intriguing to see what Raw does throughout the next few months. I actually have decided I just want to get through October now so we can get the Crown Jewel show done and focus on Survivor Series. And SmackDown is going to be a mega big deal because Roman Reigns obviously is going to be there. Cody Rhodes has to sort out the stuff with Kevin Owens. You could see The Rock. And we do have to start hinting about what we're going to do in Saudi Arabia at Survivor Series, because surely we're doing the Blood Game War Games now, which is why Jimmy Uso returned. And if nothing else, I just look forward to seeing Jimmy Uso. I think he's an underrated talent, and I think he has a way about him that I find very entertaining. I also think he kind of works better as a babyface. He's a genuinely funny dude. And, you know, we could, now that we're done with the Gunther stuff and Sami Zayn needs new direction, maybe the Bloodline are going to pop over to Raw and be like, oh, hi, Sam. Sorry, we almost killed you at that Raw Rumble. Would you like to come back with us? And the interesting point now is that Kevin Owens can't be a part of that match because he's gone super duper bad guy. Or is he going to pull a George Costanza and totally just go, what are you talking about? I don't know. By the time George quit his job, then decided, why can't I go back in on Monday? But I enjoyed Raw, and I love Bad Blood. I mean, some of the matches in between, they did kind of feel sort of, I don't say lackluster, but like there. But the main event and the opener, really, really good stuff. And again, you can check out my review. But more important than all of this, I need to know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. I know a lot of people are actually preferring the 3 hours, which I get. You're used to it. You have adapted, which you have to do. Otherwise, it would drive you crazy. But I'm very much a 2-hour guy, so we do need to debate this down there. You can also like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is my review of Bad Blood, like I've said. Otherwise, go to mine.com/Simon. You can get 10% off. Again, there's 30% off right now when it comes to pre-workouts. And Gorilla Mode Lightning is now out. If you like stim pre-workouts, man, why the hell are you still here? Go buy it. It's also patreon.com/Simon316. Agogo Fitness. Use code Simon20 to train with Anthony Agogo at home. SimonMiller316 on social media. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo for the personalized videos. And ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller for my dumb pro wrestling merchandise. Also, as a random aside, November 9th, I'm going to a New York comic convention. You can see all the information on my social media. If you are there, please come say hello so I don't pull a Virgil. All the respect to that man, of course. But I'm very worried about it. I've been talked into this, so please be a fan. That's what I'm begging you to do. Otherwise, though, just enjoy your day, and I'll see you soon.